Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today for this practice, this yin practice, where we're going to focus on backbends. Backbends in yin are a lot more gentle than they are in hatha. We look for a slight backbend where we feel an opening, following our principles of yin yoga, where we can feel an opening, but that it's not too intense. We're looking for an opening that we can, a backbend that we can hold and maintain for upwards of a minute or so, depending on the pose. Usually 1 to 3 minutes we hold the poses, sometimes up to 5. I have with me a block and a blanket. You might have a couple of blankets or a small cushion handy. We're definitely going to need a block today, and the blanket is also handy for cushioning bony joints and that kind of thing. So have those nearby your mat. I have a cup of tea too, because this is a nice relaxing practice, and it's nice to be able to have something nice to drink while you're practicing. And as always, yoga for me is, yin yoga for me is socks on yoga. So I keep my socks on. It's slow and quiet yoga that you can end up feeling a bit of a chill. Even I'm next to my fireplace, but I like to make sure I stay warm. So another good reason to have an extra blanket nearby. Most of the poses are seated or lying down on your mat. So, and I think they all are today. So if you want to have a blanket, put a blanket over you to stay warm while you're practicing. You can do that. I want to begin this practice seated on your mat. So we're going to begin upright, with the hips planted evenly down into the mat. And just like always, if you want to sit up on something, if that makes it more comfortable for you, absolutely do it. Do whatever you need to be able to sit with a long, tall spine, the crown of the head high. Hands rest on your thighs or your knees, wherever it feels good. Just roll the shoulders back and down a little bit. Lift up through the chest. Lift up through the crown of the head. Shut your eyes and turn the attention inward. Couple of breaths here. Just settling your attention down into your body, into yourself, drawing your attention inward. Now bring your focus specifically to the base of your spine. And begin to travel your awareness up your spine really slowly. You know what I do? I imagine there's a little mountain climber right at the base of my spine, and he's climbing up my vertebrae like a ladder, one step at a time, making his way up my spine. And follow your climber, looking for any areas in your spine that where there's some compression or it's overly rounded, and try and lift up out of those areas as you make your way up through the spine. All the way up to the crown of the head. And then I let my little guy just jump off, just sliding down. Keep your attention here for a few breaths. Your focus on the spine. You're ready to bring yourself into our first pose. Our first pose for today is called Melting Heart Pose. So we come to all fours on the mat. And you may want to use your blanket and your block here. And take your block and stand it up on the mat, just underneath your chest. And bring the blanket in right underneath your forehead. So what we do here is begin to walk the hands forward. So keep the hips over your knees. Walk your hands forward. You can settle your chest down onto the block and the forehead down onto the blanket. Hands reach forward. So you might need the block to be at a different height. Maybe you want to get rid of the blanket. Maybe you even want to get rid of the block. This is called melting heart, after all. So our aim is to be melting the heart down towards the mat. You can bring, so use the props if you like, or not. You can bring your forehead right down onto the mat. Maybe your chin, if you want to bring this right into your cervical spine. So remembering our 3 principles of Yin Yoga, we want to take this to a place where we can be comfortable, where we feel an opening, but that it's not too much for us to hold for an extended period of time. We want to feel that we can be very still. In this pose, and we'll stay in it, this still state, for about 2 minutes. When you're ready to come out of this pose, just bring your hands in, walk your hands in underneath your shoulders, and return to a tabletop pose. Put your hands in next to your knees, curl the toes under, and settle your heels over your hips. Bring the shoulders over those hips, or settle your hips over your heels. Shoulders over hips, hips over heels, stretching into the bottom of the feet, and just allowing the spine to recover from that pose in a neutral position. Breathe deep and easy here, and breathe into the spaces where you felt that pose the most. Just a couple of breaths. Get a rebound effect from these poses. So that's kind of nice. And let's bring the hands back down onto the mat. And I want to come all the way down to the mat to take a pose called Sphinx pose. Here in Sphinx pose, you can start by stacking your hands and rest your forehead down on the mat. Let your feet be wide, almost at the width of the mat. Let your legs be relaxed. Your heels can fall in or out or whatever way is comfortable for you. And wiggle your hips from side to side. And then lengthen the tailbone just slightly so that you feel a little bit of support in the low back. A little bit of support from your forward structure. And from here, bring the elbows underneath the shoulders. So we're creating a bit of a back bend here. Now, if this feels, I want this to feel comfortable for you. I don't want your low back to feel that it's like impinged in any way or that this is too much. So if it feels like this back bend is too much for you, walk your hands forward and just reduce the angle of the back bend until you're in a place where you can feel the back bend, but it's not something that you can't hold for an extended period of time. Wherever you are, roll the shoulders back and bring the chest forward. Neck is neutral. And we can stay here to breathe. Now, if you like, you can take your blanket and tuck it in underneath your ribcage here to give you a little bit of support. Definitely an option. Stay broad across the collarbones. Breathing into the chest, into the upper body. If you want, for the last few moments of this pose to deepen the back bend, you can walk your hands a little bit wider. Just press into the palms to lift the elbows up off the mat. Keep rolling the shoulders back and bringing the chest forward. And stay here, or you can deepen the back bend even further by walking your hands in towards your body. Again, the shoulders roll back, chest is forward, neck is long. And really breathing into the place where you're feeling this back bend. Try and stay as relaxed as you can in your lower body. If you like, you can tuck your chin down into your throat. Just keep the shoulders rolled back. And let your head wobble from side to side here. Stretching through the back of the neck. Take it easy here. And remember, you shouldn't be feeling any compression in the low back. So if you are, walk your hands forward a little bit. Walking your hands forward now. Bring your elbows underneath your shoulders. Stack your hands and rest your forehead back down onto your hands, letting the elbows come wide. Relax as much as you can through your body here. Take a few breaths. And breathe into the back body. Breathe into that space where you felt this back bend release. A little twisting is always nice after you back bend, so you can bend your knees, bring the soles of your feet up to the ceiling, and then let your feet fall from side to side, like windshield wipers. And bring your feet back to the back of the mat. Bring your hands next to your chest. And you can press up through tabletop and then back to child's pose. Sliding your tummy down over your thighs. Knees are about hip width apart here. So you're compressing the front of your body now. Forehead can come down onto a blanket, a pillow, a block, or a mat. And let your hands come back to the back of the mat. Fingers are pointing at the back of the mat. Hands are next to your heels with the palms facing out. Let the shoulder blades glide away from the spine.
You can stay just like this in your pose if you like. Or before we move on to more back bends, I think it might be nice to take a little bit of a twist in the spine. So you can bring the left hand forward and thread the right hand underneath your left arm. Palms facing up. Come down onto the back of your right shoulder, the right ear. Your left hand can stay at the top of the mat. You can even walk it over to the right side of the mat. Or you can bring that left hand to your right hip crease. Open the chest and the left shoulder that way. And then just coming to the other side, unwind your right hand towards the foot of the mat. Thread your left arm underneath the right. Come down onto the left shoulder, the left ear. Right hand you can place towards the top of the mat or back over towards your left hip crease. Yes. Right hand in next to your face. And come back to child's pose this time with the hands reaching forward. Last few breaths here. Really breathing into the back body. And then when you're ready, move up to tabletop. And find yourself in a seat towards the middle of your mat. You're going to want to grab your blanket and your block. Bring your blanket up towards the top of your mat. And now, the next pose that we're going to do is called, it's a series of poses called block up the spine. Or I think maybe I just call it that. I'm not sure. Put this somewhere where I won't spill it. We take our block in this instance and bring it to the center between your shoulder blades. So hold it. I hold it with one hand like this, and then I lie down onto the mat and I lie right onto the block. Now, some of you might feel like your block is too big. So you could look for something smaller at your house, or roll a blanket and set that between the shoulder blades. But really, I think a block is about the right size for most people. So use your other hand on the mat to support yourself as you come down. And we're going to lie right onto that block. Now the block should be beneath the big knob on the back of your neck, like the biggest knob. And it's kind of natural for you to have to fiddle and futz with the block a little bit before it feels really good. So feel free to spend some time messing around with the block until you get it feeling just the way you want it to. If it feels like it's too far for your head to make it all the way back to the mat, feel free to take a blanket or a pillow and just tuck it in the back of your head for additional comfort. Because I want you to feel really, really comfortable in this pose. I don't want you to feel like you're tensing up in any way. The way this pose works the best is if you are able to really release all muscular effort. So think here about really allowing the flesh of your body to just melt off of your bones. The shoulder blades are wrapping around the block. So I'm still messing with it till I get it just right. Really want that just beneath the upper neck. So you're not supporting yourself with your neck, with the vertebrae of your neck in any way, but that the block is up high between your shoulder blades. Once you have it, once you've fiddled with it and you finally have it, you'll be like, oh wow, that's it. And then you can do what you want with your hands and your feet. You can cup your rib cage or put one hand on your chest and one on your belly. Let the hands be open in a T or a Y, a cactus, hopefully open up across the chest. Whatever feels good for you so that you can really truly release all muscular effort in the upper back. Your hips are on the mat. The back of your head and your hips are on the mat. Your legs, it depends on what you choose to do with them. I have my feet together, the soles of my feet together, and the knees wide, like a cowboy's pose, a butterfly pose. You can bring the knees out. Shoulder red hip width apart. And then maybe even knock the knees together and bring the feet wide. If you don't like all of those, you can extend your feet down to the front corners of your mat. Or do anything else you like with your feet. Frankly, as long as it doesn't impact your ability to completely relax. And at this point, all we have to do is stand. soles of your feet. Just lift up through one arm, just extend it up overhead, and then roll off of the block and onto that side of your body. Take your other hand, your upper hand, and take the block and turn it on its end now. And then bring the block so that it's coming straight across the lower part of your rib cage. And then from there, you can just roll back onto the block. Again, you're probably going to have to mess with it a little bit until it feels right, just right. But now the block is right at the mid-region of your spine. Maybe your head is more comfortably resting on the floor. The hips and the head are on the floor. Again, you can choose what you want to do with your arms and legs. Find yourself nice and comfortable in whatever your choices are. Make yourself comfortable on the block. Make sure the block is right across the back of your rib cage so that it's beneath the shoulder blades, but you're fully supported by the bones of your ribs, not by your vertebrae. Again, if the block seems too high, feel free to use something else in its place. to come out of this pose, you can roll back onto your side and slide the block down towards your hips. Or you can stay right on your back. Bring the soles of your feet to the mat. Lift your hips. Take the block from both sides and just slide it down until it's right underneath your sacrum. Settle the block down onto the mat. And just like in the other instances, make sure it's under the bony part of your sacrum, not underneath your vertebrae of your spine in any way. And this time you can choose, once again, what you'd like to do with your arms and legs. My favorite thing to do in this pose is to extend my legs. So now the shoulders are on the mat and the hips are lifted up off the mat. Just bringing the back bend to the focus of the back bend to a different space in the spine. Really the whole aim of this pose of the block down the spine is to fully lengthen the spine. Give your attention to every area of the spine and add flexibility to areas of the spine that maybe are generally stiffened. Try to keep your mind on the practice here. I know that it's really easy in a yin practice for your mind to begin to wander. Use the sensations of the poses to be a physical anchor, to draw your mind back into this present moment. Let your mind settle on the sensations that you're feeling in your body. The sensations of the breath as you're making the pose. So that you are able to fully relax while staying in the moment. Continue breathing deep and easy. Staying with your practice. When you're ready, when you've had enough of this pose, bring the soles of the feet to the mat and press into the feet. Lift the hips just enough to be able to slide the blockade from underneath them. And then settle your hips back down onto the mat. Bring your feet wide, let the knees knock together. Hands can rest one on your tummy, one on your chest. Take a couple of breaths here with the spine lengthening down onto the mat. Feeling the full rebound effect of this pose. Here, before we head to Savasana, I'd like to take a reclined twist. So bring your hands up to the sides, goalpost or to a T. Tuck your feet in so they're next to one another. And let's roll onto the left hip with the knees fall to the left while you bring your gaze over your right shoulder. Back up to center. Roll to the other side, roll into the right hip. Knees fall to the right, gaze to the left. Just a couple of breaths here to give the spine a nice release after those back bends. This should feel really comfortable. No effort required here, just like gravity, draw the knees down, run away. Your upper body beyond. Breathe in to rock your cage. Knees up to center. And from here, let's finish the practice in Savasana. Extend the heels down to the far corners of the mat. Let your hands rest palm facing up. Underneath you, or next to you. Tuck your shoulder blades underneath you. And if you like, you bring your blanket underneath your head again for a little support. Feel good. Breathe deep and easy here. Just Notice the way you feel. Even slow and passive backbends can be invigorating. Begin to stir and churn energy up in your body. Just notice how you feel. When you're ready to begin moving again, you can wiggle into your hands and your feet. Stay nice and relaxed, but just stretch out through the length of your body. Release any last little bits where you might be feeling some tightness or something gripping. And then gently bring the knees into the chest. Give yourself a hug. Nice hug. Nice gentle hug. You can sway from side to side here. Or even make some circles with your knees. You can move the knees together or in opposite directions. Just one last release for the low back. In one way and then the other. And from here, make your way to the fetal position. Take a couple of breaths. Just making sure that we take our time here as we make our way back up to a seated position. Take your time. Use your hands to support you. Keep your chin tucked in your throat. Even keep your eyes shut. Finding our way to a place where we can feel very comfortable. Lengthen up through the spine seat. Keep your eyes shut. Lengthen up through the spine. Roll your shoulders down and away from the ears. Draw your attention to the length of your spine. Crown of the head balanced at the very top of the spine. Bring your attention down to your hips, to your tailbone. Find that little climber again and begin to climb your awareness up your spine, one vertebrae at a time. Climbing up the ladder of your spine. Notice now those areas that you may have found earlier, those areas of where we're over rounded or that there is some compression in the spine. Take note of how they feel now. Look for any other areas where you may be feeling something. Just observe. Try to lengthen up out these areas. And when you get all the way to the top of your neck, let your climber ski down the slope of your arm.
Gently open your eyes, take in the colors around you, and let's inhale the fingertips up overhead. As you exhale, thumbs to the third eye. And let's hinge forward. This is our final pose for the day, and I thank you for being here with me. Namaste.